The big matchup in the Western Big Six this week is Moline traveling to United Township. Moline 6-1, United Township 4-3. Of course, Joe Winkle, the voice of UT Panthers, and Grant Delsham, the voice of Moline Maroons. We'll start with UT offense. They have the ball. What are they doing, Joe?
First off, can we still be friends after this?
I hope so.
Okay, all right. This game, we were really close to having this game having a lot more meaning, but there's still a lot on the line. Just from the grand picture, I assume due to the math, Moline can clinch at least a share or outright conference title, which they haven't done in a few years. UT obviously officially, Wink, can clinch their first playoff berth in 2.5 decades. So to say this is the biggest UT Moline game in quite some time, even though not as big as it could have been, is saying something. But yeah, when UT has the ball, I think you just look at the grand scheme of things for keys in this game. UT's offense is really good. Now they're a little dinged up, as we've said, but they've kind of continued to adapt to that. The only team in league play that's really shut them down in any sort of way was Quincy. They didn't get some good games out of certain guys, and they weren't able to win up front as much. Moline easily has the best defensive line in the conference, and I think what UT has to do is the little things. Be okay with taking short, 2 or 3 yards at a time. Be disciplined in certain aspects, try to make Moline's defense defend. Not when UT's offense is really good, they're able to not just make you defend the 100 yards, but they're also up and down the field. They're able to make you defend the 52 and a third or whatever it is from east to west, because they're able to make you have to be disciplined with, all of their different type of run schemes, their passing game, whether it's the quick game, the deep shots, all that stuff. So to keep Moline's defense off balance, and I think Grant will agree with that, I think it's not that Moline has any weak part of their defense by any means, because I think their front seven is better than their secondary, but their secondary also took the best passing unit in the Big Six. Grant, what they hold them to, like 120, 130 yards or something when they went down there?
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing for United Township, is to be balanced, to be disciplined, take the little things on the defensive side. And you're going to have to see big games from Isaiah and Everett, obviously, but I think Jonathan Drake as well in the passing game. I think UT's probably going to have to throw the ball to win.
And Joe mentioned the D-lines. How's the D-line?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. You talk about UT's got to be content with these smaller gains. Moline has only allowed, I think, 38, 39 total rush yards in the last 2 games combined, going back between Quincy and Rock Island. So the run defense is good. The secondary has been a little banged up, has had some issues, but they've continued to adjust. We talked about last week, they turnovers, they fly to footballs, they are aggressive on plays, they flock to the ball, they find ways to create chaos on the defensive end, and if they can just continue to keep doing what they're doing, limiting the run at the rate that they are, and keeping the pass game of UT that has done some good things this year down to a minimum somewhat, I think they'll be in good shape.
I think also, too, for the UT side, obviously, it's always cliche to talk about the line of scrimmage in football, but this is good on good. It's one of the best offensive lines in the league against, arguably, I think, the best defensive line in the league. And you've got both sides just littered with all conference dudes. I know for Moline, you got LT Hill and Musa and Menge. I know there's another one too. I just can't remember the name off the top of my head. But for UT, you got Eli Oppenheimer, Tristan Wallerab, who are both all conference level guys. I think Angel Gomez at left tackle has been an all conference level guy this year. And then obviously Steve Silva at center at sophomore. Don't want to forget Chase Bance at right tackle. But that's a dude. The 4 seniors up there have a load of starts. And I'm sure Coach Welch last year is going to get on him for when you look at the tape. One of their, I wouldn't say worst performances, but a game they might have underwhelmed in was the Moline game last year. They weren't able to win much up front, but I think they've really taken a huge step this season. And I think that's going to be a huge factor, is who can win up front. A skill guy for the Panthers. And if you want to give out a guy or two to look out for on the defensive side for Moline, by all means, we love it. But for the UT, I think their top 2 receivers right now, Will Recius and Jesus Guzman, they've both been playing well. Recius especially, him and Jonathan Drake have a really nice connection in the RPO game. I think that's something that maybe some quick hitters, and then obviously you can take some play action deep shots. Guzman's been able to haul some of those in. So I think if those 2 guys can get free in that secondary, they can do some damage for United Township.
We know Moline loves to run the ball, but now Case and Ponder, he's been throwing it around these last couple of games. What can UT's defense do to stop that?
Well, yeah, Moline's been a bit. I would say they've been a bit more balanced. Wouldn't you say, Green, as the season's gone along?
Yeah, I've talked about it on the broadcast each and every week, how Casey Ponders continued to develop. 2 weeks ago now against Rock Island, he had one of the best quarterback games, and who knows how long from Moline. 3 passing touchdowns in a wing T style offense that just basically never happens. And he threw for almost 200 yards, which is something we haven't seen in a long time from this Moline offense. So they're getting deeper and they're having more options. They had 9 different guys score touchdowns in that Rock Island game, so they have plenty of options to hand the ball off. But then the passing game just getting better every single week, and that's what you like to see late in the season and toward the playoffs.
Those are Eric Maffey numbers at Moline. Shout out to the quarterback who was there. That's a deep cut. Mike Moore. I don't know what camera I'm at. Mike Morrissey will appreciate that deep cut. Shout out to Eric Maffey, quarterback for Mike's first year in 2017. Yeah, he's been getting better. Their running game obviously has been really good, and their running game has had to do. It's been a lot of different guys. You mentioned how a bunch of different guys scored touchdowns, I think, in the Quincy game. And obviously the head of the horse is Mark Carey. He's going to be a guy that gets put up by, I'm sure, Mike and some other coaches as well for player of the year in conference play. He's going to finish close to or over. He should still be on pace for 1,000 yards.
I think he's got about 285 more yards to get to 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would assume he's going to eclipse that. He's been really good, and that's with, going into the season they expected a 2-horse, backfield with him and Eli Warren. Eli Warren's been in and out of the lineup, but all things indicate he obviously will play this week. So having both of them is good. But last year in these bigger games, Moline would, change things up a bit. They had some seniors. Adrian Cooper was one. They had some other guys as well that would rotate in that backfield instead of Carey and Warren as sophomores. This year, Coach Morrissey, obviously, you have those seniors graduate. You have Carey and Warren be the main bell cows, and they have stepped up to the task. So I expect that's going to be a thing. And the thing for Moline, obviously their passing game's evolved, but when you just look at the basics of their offense, I do think that this has been a really good year for Mike because, on an offensive gameplay, not that he's had bad years, but sometimes things can be a little bit basic with a wing T offense. But what they do so fast, and they've always been good at, and like the team that almost made the quarters a few years ago, they were so good at. Grant Sibley at quarterback. They're never like super big running threats, but they're always carrying out their fakes. Everything is so fast. They get up to the line. It's so quick that it's this insane tempo for a wing T offense that's running the ball at such a high clip. And again, we just talked about their passing game has evolved throughout the year, but still, that's the stuff that's so impressive because they can make everything in the running game look the same. So that's the same thing I kind of said with the little things for the Panthers offense. They have to do it on this defensive side as well. You have to accept that in this game, you're going to give up some big plays. You might get burned over the top with a pass. You have to limit those. It happened twice last year where they got burned on deep balls for touchdowns. How many touchdowns did UT lose by last year? 2. Those were the 2 biggest plays of the game. So you might get hit by 1. You can't let it be more than that. In the run game, you have to understand that in this game, you know what? There's going to be a time where you just don't squeeze in a certain spot and they're going to hit it. They're going to hit a hole. They're going to get a big run. That's going to happen. But you got to limit those types of things. And I think if their front 7, we talk about the little things in the discipline, can hone stuff in, that'll be a huge success. They're getting healthy on the defensive backfield end. Javon McDowell came back last week. That is huge to have him back. Obviously, they've been without Leo Sim, who's maybe the most talented guy in the Big Six. It sucks that he's been out, but they've got Javon back. At least that's big. Their front 7, their defensive line especially, has to have a big game because they can't just allow the Moline offensive line to push them around. If Riley King, Jordan Pierman, Tristan Walrab, they have other guys that rotated in as well. But if those guys can have success up front, that's how you stop this Moline offense at the point of attack.